everyone, welcome back to the channel, The Good Life 777. Today we have something special for you. We're at TK Autosports, talking to TJ about this beautiful Porsche and the LS7 swamp that he did. Some really amazing stuff. Then we take it out on the road for a test drive. All driving was done on a closed course by professional drivers. Do not try these maneuvers yourselves without training. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button and share.
Hey DJ, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Good. So tell us something about this project, how it started.
I don't even know where to start with this one. So it started life well before we got into it as a 2007 997 Twin Turbo S, which is their all-wheel drive model. At some point somebody turned it into a GT2 replica with a bunch of carbon fiber bodywork, changed it from four-wheel drive to two-wheel drive, had a bigger turbo motor built for it. One of our customers bought it 2 years ago, drove it a few times. Unfortunately the motor let go, and as custom Porsche motors go, the price of the motor exceeds really the value of the car. So it was at that point he decided to have us build him another car, and we took this one in as partial trade. You know, me and the guys sort of sat on it for 6 months or so to decide what it was that we were going to do with it, and we came up with a pretty crazy idea. We did some searching and some traveling and met some people that had done motor swaps before. So we actually flew all the way out to Vegas, met with Renegade, talked with those guys, and in a couple months we had an idea of a LS7 powered Porsche. And so we basically stripped it down of everything that was in it, the engine, the transmission, the wiring, everything in between, and we hung an LS7 motor in there, mated it to the Porsche Trans, and so now here we are with basically a broken in motor, a running driving car, and it's a ton of fun.
All right, let's take a closer look. Before we get into the engine inside the car, let's go over some of the outside features.
So it's got a full stop tech kit on it. You can see the two-piece rotors, front and rear, 6-piston front, 4-piston rear. Need a lot of brake to slow a car that's this fast. It's got the GT3 cup hood, front fenders, doors, roof, side scoop. So all of that is full carbon fiber. Everything basically other than the floor pan, the rear quarter, and the roof panel. The 8-pillar roof panel is steel. Everything else is carbon fiber. The car weighs 2,900 pounds. 2,905 on the scales. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, which is when the car came from the factory, the twin turbo Porsche, it was in the 3,600 range, I think.
Yeah, they're pretty heavy.
Yeah,
they're pretty hefty.
It's down almost 1,000 pounds from stock with all the carbon fiber. The engine weighs less than the Porsche motor weighed when it was in there.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's...
Well, being a twin turbo, the engine weighed quite a bit to begin with, but you also have all the exhaust piping, intake piping, intercoolers, all the turbos, oil lines, all that kind of stuff, you know, adds up, and it ended up being over 200 pounds lighter than the Porsche motor that was in there. And that's 200 pounds over the rear axle, which really just evens out the weight split even better.
Beautiful. Okay. Let's get to the good stuff. Okay, so this is C6 Z06 engine?
Yeah, C6 Z06. Chevy sells it as a crate motor. It's just their LS7 505 horse crate motor. This one's got a little bit of a hotter cam. So it should be making in the 525 to 550 range. We're just breaking in the motor, haven't done a dyno day or anything, but yeah, this is just straight from GM, straight from the internet, crate motor, shows up, pan intake, plug it into the factory GM ECU that comes with the crate motors, and just you connect a couple wires and that's it.
Wow. Well, as you know, I had a couple of C6s Z06.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great motor.
Yeah.
It's a great motor.
Yeah.
It's a 7.0.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it retained, it's a pretty good marriage between Porsche and Chevy parts. We opted to go with the mechanical GM water pump. So in order to do that, you run the belt. You only have to cut about an inch of basically floor pan metal out of the back. The only other option is to go with an electric water pump. But being that we want this to be a reliable track car, mechanical belt driven, you can't really get much better than that. So you cut just a little bit out of the sheet metal on the back of the car. The engine mounts, as you can see, bolt straight to the GM heads, and then right down to where the Porsche mounts go on either side. And they are rubber mounted, so it's not too crazy. It does shake the car a bit, but nothing more than normal. It's mated up to the Porsche transmission that was in it, with a 1-inch adapter plate. And then basically all you have is 4 transmission bolts, 2 engine bolts, and the whole thing goes right in.
Interesting. Very. So when you lift the hood, I guess, on a Porsche, you can't see anything.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. And even this one, you would have had big intakes, and these holes up here would have gone into the factory air filter, which was down here.
Right.
So
right.
you don't see any of that. And yeah, I mean, honestly, once it was in, the stuff you can get to, the coil packs,
Yeah, actually, yeah.
all the wiring, spark plugs, exhaust bolts, there's more room than we had on the Porsche motor to begin with. And other than making, you know, some custom intake parts, we made it this elbow. Otherwise, the throttle body would be right up against the intake, and then you have to get rid of the latching system and put pins in. I didn't want to do that, so we made this elbow. I turned the throttle body so that the electric motor's facing down and out of sight to make it look a little bit cleaner. Made these carbon fiber tubes to adapt it down to the mass air sensor, and then the air cleaner is actually in the fender, fed by the side scoop.
Wow.
So it goes straight through the fender where like the factory turbo piping would go, and the side scoops factory Porsche would have been feeding into the intercoolers to cool them down. So we just ran, there's a big 14-inch K&N air filter in the side pod there, right where the scoop feeds into.
What about the exhaust?
Well, right now the exhaust is a little custom make that we just kind of threw together. It's using the Z06 headers that the engine would have come with if it came in the Z06. So basically it's a 4-into-1 5-inch oval, and we turn the 5-inch oval into 4-inch straight pipes. There's nothing in between. So it's just 4 cylinders out one side, 4 out the other. We've been having an exhaust made for it. That's going to be a common nose 180-degree or crossover headers, where you have 2 of the odd fire cylinders cross over and come out the opposite. It'll give it a much more unique sound. Should give it a little bit of a power gain, not that we're really looking for that. It's more sound that we're looking for, to kind of get some of the lopey muscle car out of it and bring a little bit of you know, something European or something a little more exotic. But with the shutdowns and everything with Corona, you know, we're still waiting on the shop to open up and make the exhaust. But other than that, it's basically complete.
So, yeah. So we're looking at a different exhaust note in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds, wow, this is a great, oh my God, this is a great idea. Oh. Great, there's room for everything. The oil dipstick is there, right?
Yeah.
And this, I'm assuming, is a fuel pressure gauge?
Yeah, and that's more for when we did the first start and for breaking in the motor. The way the GM Performance computer works is that it doesn't have a fuel rail pressure sensor in the computer. What it's doing is the computer is just relying on a 58, I think, PSI. It's already trimmed in the computer. It's never gonna, it's always gonna stay that way. So as we're breaking it in and as we did the first starts, I wanted to have an actual gauge that we can make sure that the fuel pump is doing what it should do. It's staying at 58 to 60 because the computer's really meant for that, and there is no sensor to tell a computer otherwise. So that too, in the future, once it's broken in now, we've got 7 hours on the motor. I put an hour meter up here, you can see. So it's got 7.0 or 7.1 on there right now.
Let's see if I can get that in. Yeah, I think we got it. Okay.
Yeah, so it's already broken in, but we'll be removing that gauge to make it look a little better in the future.
Ah, great. All right, why don't we, let's move to the interior.
Not too much that we did that hasn't already been here. Of course, we did the centered, the dash, all the carbon fiber and the switches that we rewired. Everything else, we basically bought the car as is. It's factory Porsche interior, just rewrapped. The seats are Sparco racing seats, also just rewrapped, you know, in colors to match. We did find OMP belts that are almost an exact color match off the shelf. Wow. Which we were pretty surprised about, so we threw those in there. But no, I mean, the car is split up electronically pretty well because the ECU and everything that controls the motor is actually under the panels under the back here. So the only wires traveling through the car, main power wire, ignition wire, you know, brake lights and tail lights. That's pretty much it. Other than that, everything stays forward. Everything for the motor stays back. It's pretty well simplified.
So you have roll bars, full set.
Yep. Full roll bar. Roll bars on the main hoop up top are welded directly to the chassis, all the way down the 8 pillars. That too, like I said, this was all done before we really got the car. So it was all done impeccably well. It was just unfortunate for a motor, and we decided to figure out a different way to keep this car alive rather than, you know, part it out, get rid of it, or throw another $50,000–$60,000 engine into it. So.
Right. All right, let's get on the trunk.
Yeah, front trunk.
The frunk.
Yep. So we have a standalone BMW Motorsport ABS unit. So it does have full ABS. It's tuned for motorsports, for sticky tires, and it works.
Oh wow, that is great.
It's got motion control, suspension all the way around. So these are the adjustable shocks. You would put nitrogen on this side, and then you have your dampening, which is on the wheel here, and there's, you know, individual clicks for settings. So right now we have the car full soft while we break it in.
Full soft?
Yeah, that's just while we break it in and get some road mileage out of it. We added electric power steering, which the car hadn't had. The power steering ran off the factory motor. Rather than run 20 feet of power steering line from a motor, especially high RPMs all day long,
right.
You just add, this is a simple off-the-shelf Toyota power steering pump for a couple $100. Yep.
This one?
Yep. It's just a right off-the-shelf power steering pump for a couple $100. It's Toyota, you know, you can get it at any one of the parts stores. Oh. I'm really just wanting one pressure line straight through the sidewall here into the rack, and a return line right back.
Right.
And we have it connected to a switch so that if you're driving on the road or around the paddock, you can have power steering and not have to worry about it. If you go out on track and you want some feedback, you can flick it off and you have all the feedback of a manual steering rack.
Wow, that is great.
Fire suppression, yep. There's full fire suppression throughout the entire car. You'll see these nozzles. There's one up here right above the fuel tank. There's going to be 2 for each occupant seat inside, and of course 2 on top of the motor. Right now it's unplugged. That's something that we leave unplugged until you actually go out on track. And then there's a button inside the car that if there's ever an issue and you're stuck in the car, there's a fire going on, you press the button and it's automatic. It releases the entire canister all at once and hopefully puts the fire out, but mainly it's to give you a couple extra seconds to get out of the car.
Wow, that's good. Safety is important.
Yeah.
What's on the...
that's just the fuel cap access.
Okay.
So you would have the fuel level sensors under here, underneath the batteries where the pump and all factory would have been. Now everything is replaced underneath the car. So the fuel pump, all the lines, everything's in what you would call like the trans tunnel through the center of the car.
Wow, some amazing stuff. And how long did it take you to do this?
It's hard to say with how Corona shut everything down, but we had the motor, I want to say, in February. We were looking forward to a pretty busy race season, so this kind of got put on the shelf and back, and we would do it, you know, later in the fall, maybe this coming winter. But with the shutdowns, we got right to it. I think, you know, pulling the motor out and getting the Chevy motor mounted, it didn't take a full day. It really went in just as it should. Everything came out. You put the adapters together, put a new clutch. You know, it goes up in there with more room than the Porsche motor ever had.
Right.
So there's no problem there. Once it was mounted, it was probably 2 or 3 months of, you know, wiring and figuring out the electric power steering system, getting the AIM dash display system to read both Porsche factory harness inputs and read the ECU input from GM, and to get all that kind of working. And then once we got the engine fired, of course you have to break it in slowly on the lift, then put it down its wheels and, you know, take it out, check for leaks, that sort of thing. And, you know, pretty happy to say we've put 7 hours on the car, and other than a fuel drip when we first started it up, there has not been a single problem with the car since. It's been actually really reliable already, and that was the whole point of the swap, was to get something super reliable out of this, you know, really unique car.
Do I dare say it? Chevy reliability?
Yeah. You can't knock it. I'm not an LS swap fan. Oh, I can't say that now, I guess. Right? I've never been an LS swap fan, and when we got this car, you know, we knew of a Porsche Cayman that had a Coyote motor, but because it's an overhead cam, it's such a bigger motor, you have to cut so much out of it. Nobody's ever done these. we found a guy that did, you know, the LS motors to the 996s, Caymans, and some of the earlier Porsches, and we just had to run with it. And, you know, I gotta say that LS motors, the reliability, because they've been making them for so long, and all the parts are interchangeable between most LS, you know, types, you really can't knock it. We have a couple Chevy performance places that we work well with here that build a lot of Corvettes, so we have that backing us too. If we ever have an, you know, a problem with it, something weird, if we want it tuned, which we'll do shortly, we just bring it straight to them, and, you know, let them handle most of it.
I remember when I had my car, some of the Z06s, they had some issue with the heads.
Yeah.
The engine. This has all been addressed on this one, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah, this one's been fixed. They had valve seal issues. Some of the, because they can rev out to 7,000, a little bit over. They have valve spring issues, that kind of stuff. So yeah, this motor wasn't directly from GM Performance. This was a GM Performance crate that they then put the, you know, the better valve seals and valve springs and all that into. Yep. Wow,
the door is so light. It's carbon fiber, right?
Yeah, so pretty much everything on the front end. The bumper's not. The bumper's still plastic. Obviously, the hood's carbon fiber. This is Porsche Cup carbon fiber. Doors are carbon. Roof is full carbon. It's not carbon applique over steel. It is full carbon roof. It's
so light that it was a very slight wind that was not a closing.
Yeah.
Wow, that is some project. Oh my God. Awesome. Awesome. We'll do let's hear it and then we'll take it out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let me start it up. But it's got electronic power steering, so when we're just cruising around the road or the paddock, we can have all the power steering. You can steer it with 2 fingers, no problem. And then at a flip of a switch, turn power steering off, and now you got the full feel of the road. So if you're on track and you want a little more feedback, no problem at all. We got headlights and low beams, turn signals, which is in the middle here in this 3-position switch, high beams, this one's horn. Oh, and then this one's spare. This will probably eventually go to wipers that aren't hooked up right now, but that's a spare for now. Okay.
Alright, ride's pretty good.
It's not too bad. It's still 6-speed and it's still factory motors. So say we put it in 6th gear, 40 mile an hour. It's really not that awful. It's not loud. It doesn't pull. It's a little bit bouncy. It's really not that awful. It's street legal, but definitely a track compound. But with the weight in the back of the car, it would be hard to break the back of this thing loose. Yeah. 345 tires in the back, so they're a little over 15 inches wide, 505 horsepower. It sticks good. It sticks real good.
Yeah, winning combination.
Yeah.
Definitely. Hold on. I think I just tasted my lunch for the 2nd time.
But what's really cool about the torque of the motor and the way that the car is balanced is most of like the Corvettes and the Mustangs, high high horsepower front engine cars, when you step on the gas, you get that like really aggressive weight transfer where you're staring at the sky for a second.
Right.
This doesn't have that. With the weight already on the back axles, the back tires are that stiff, the suspension's that stiff. You step on it and it goes. You really don't have, other than the acceleration force, you don't really have that big weight transfer that you
Right.
would usually feel.
That was a great ride.
Not bad, huh?
Not bad at all. Are you thinking ever of selling this?
Oh yeah. We built it to sell it. That's
Okay.
what we're in the business for. So when we're done and doing our R&D, it'll be up for auction or for sale probably later this year, early next year.
All right, so hey guys,
Yep.
keep that in mind. Well, thank you very much. Great ride.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. And if you're wondering what the next project will be, well, here it is. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Until next time, ciao for now.
You're moving me. I've been thinking about you day and night. I can't get enough.